as I grew older, I realised that a class of 25 isn't 25 of me. I then realised that the purpose of being a PE teacher is to create that thirst for physical activity amongst everybody, and not those who've already got that fire in the belly to participate in sport. So initially I started off with that traditional approach, and then as I've grown as a teacher, I've realised that I need to be more fluid.
Today's episode is sponsored by Sports Directory, your partner in PE. Is your PE budget feeling the squeeze? Struggling to find the right equipment to help your students thrive? Sports Directory has you covered. Whether you're restocking your PE cupboard, planning the perfect sports day, or looking to bring new activities into your curriculum, Sports Directory is there to support you. Plus, with their My School Rewards scheme, you'll get 10% back on every order, ready to spend on your next purchase. Visit sportsdirectory.com for all the equipment you need to boost your PE lessons and see how My School Rewards can help your budget go further. Yes, hello everyone and welcome back to the PE Insights podcast, conversations about physical education with me, your host Nathan Walker, brought to you by the fantastic team at PE Scholar. Another episode for you today. In this conversation, I'm joined by Dan Miller, who is currently head of physical education working in Doha in Qatar. And in our conversation today, we talk about his journey through his teaching career, potential changes in his philosophy, and what he's currently doing in his school in Doha around concept curriculum and his ideas for performance pathways and participation pathways and other things. So lots in here for you to take away. As always, I would love for you to share your thoughts on whatever social media platform that you use. All that's left for me to say is to sit back, relax, and let's dive in. Dan, welcome to the PE Insights podcast.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me, Nate. Yeah.
How you doing then?
Worth the wait.
End of the school day in Doha. Kids are about to go home. How's your day, all right?
Yeah, chocker day today, back-to-back lessons and a meeting during PM Reg, but it's the weekend here, so that's all forgotten now that it's home time.
Yes, I remember the Thursday evening as well. Right, let's dive into the episode then. Let's start by telling the listeners a little bit about yourself and your educational journey so far.
Okay, so I'm based in North Wales. That's where I'm originally from. Went to a high school there called Aries High School. And during my time as a student, as I grew up, I struggled at school, generally speaking. A bit of a common theme amongst PE teachers. I looked to sport and PE as the guidance really for me and something that I really focused on. Quickly got a great connection with our PE department. They're absolutely fantastic with me, really supportive. They're probably the people that I had the best relationships with. And then as we went through that time, I realised that perhaps being a PE teacher isn't also bad. So that's what started my journey off at kind of 14 to 16 age, and realised that I definitely wanted to pursue being a PE teacher. And which then, if pushed towards which A-levels I wanted to take because I wanted to be a PE teacher. It chose my course at university. So I went to university in New South Wales. University of South Wales, it was called, just outside of Cardiff. I actually chose that university because it's a little village similar to what I'm from in North Wales, but then actually lived in Cardiff and spent most of my time in Cardiff, so it was a bit counterproductive. And it was a great time. The course was great. I definitely realised that it was a part of what I wanted to pursue. There were good aspects of it, some not particularly great aspects of it, but I knew definitely deep down inside that being a PE teacher was definitely the dream. I then went back up to North Wales to do my PGCE at a university called Bangor University. Really good program there. Lady called Anne Edwards, who was since retired, but she was fantastic. And a chap called Rhys Cotamore-Jones. Mention them both personally because they were fantastic for me and many cohorts before and after me. And I would cut in 2 placements, as everybody is, in my PGCE year. One relatively straightforward in my local area. One not so much, a bit of each, but
they're supposed to be interesting, aren't they?
Yeah, and I think I learned far more in my second placement, much more deprived area, which brings its own set of circumstances and challenges. But yeah, I felt that was definitely the one that I learned most from. I had a great mentor at the second placement, and a chap called Alex Thomas, who just pushed me on and made me realise that, and we'll delve a bit more deeper into kind of a varied curriculum and concept-based curriculum later, but that was where it all started for me, and realising that it isn't about the generic 4 sports that you would do in the winter, 4 sports you do in the summer, and being very rigid in that approach.
Right.
They controversially actually didn't teach football in Key Stage 3 at the school because they wanted to be a bit more creative and didn't want to do something which all the students do after school and at home and at clubs anyway. But yeah, it was a great experience for me, and that kind of developed me into the teacher I was at that point. And then quickly got into post whilst I was still in my second placement, and went straight into post as a PE teacher at a school Brunelian back in North Wales. And that's kind of where the journey started.
So when you talked about your mentor and kind of shaping your sort of direction, your path towards like a concept style approach, was that something you took into that first role in North Wales, or is it something you've picked up later on in your career?
I would say, yeah, I've definitely picked up and seen more the benefits of it as I've grown into being a PE teacher throughout the years. My upbringing as a student in PE was a very traditional approach. We do hockey, then rugby, then football, and we do a series of 6 to 8 lessons on skills. You would do passing, and then passing and moving, and then creating opportunities to score, outwitting an opponent, and then a game assessment at the end, which I'm not saying is bad, because I was a very sporty student and I would do anything because I enjoyed it. As I grew older, I realised that a class of 25 isn't 25 of me. I then realised that the purpose of being a PE teacher is to create that thirst for physical activity amongst everybody, and not those who've already got that fire in the belly to participate in sport. So initially I started off with that traditional approach, and then as I've grown as a teacher, I've realised that I need to be more fluid.
Yeah. Do you want to talk to us a little bit about where you are now and when you made that step?
Yeah, I think in my old school, a great head of department in Richard Hooper, he was very open and honest about our curriculum planning. So the planning wouldn't be necessarily an activity, but more so a space. And then it would be down on the students that we've got in front of us, the cohort, the teacher, the expertise they've got, the flexibility we have as a department to offer activities which are both unique, common, niche, popular, and it was a great time to be a PE teacher, because we were offering activities that we would have to learn. So for example, doing dodgeball as a whole curriculum, as a whole scheme of work, whole program of study. Having a look at ultimate frisbee, having a look at softball, having a look at handball, just activities which were out of the box, not popular in the UK. So it made us as a team research, practice, do some CPD amongst ourselves in the sports hall, and practicing our own techniques. So yeah, it started off, I would probably say 5 or 6 years ago. Big push in Wales for that concept-based curriculum, and then we brought it here into Doha, and it lent itself nicely because of the weather constraints. It's so warm in the summer that we have to spend a lot of that indoors.
Yeah.
And we have to try and be open-minded in what we offer. It can't just be football, because we can't be outside all year. We've got mixed ability groups. We've got very top end, very low end, and we came together to try and create an approach of teaching which catered for the masses and not the minority, very strong and practically able students.
Mm. Give us an example then. What does a sequence of learning look like at your school at the minute to meet those needs?
So at the minute we're doing girls football, girls handball, depending on the groups that the girls have got at the minute. Again, if it's a group that particularly lends itself to football, then we do football. If it's not, it's handball. So it's still an invasion game. But the lesson is based on confidence as opposed to passing and moving. It might be vaguely linked to passing and moving, but the end goal or the learning objective that we're trying to achieve would be a sequence of growing in confidence to be able to pass and move. as opposed to the success of passing and moving, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So there's still the focus on being involved in movement and exploring movement through handball, but the focus is on developing confidence. This is just me being really curious, how are you assessing that? What sort of questions do you ask? What sort of formative assessment do you ask to kind of measure their growth in confidence?
Yeah, we do a couple of different formats really. One being at the end of that program and looking at feedback in a written form of are you feeling more confident? Do you understand when you should pass and move? Do you understand when you should shoot? Because they're the kind of answers that we want, of being yes, as opposed to what angle should your arm be when you are shooting a handball. But for us, we're not interested in that, because technique is a very individual base anyway. You look at the most able cricketers, for instance, they all have different techniques. If it's right, it works, doesn't matter. So yeah, we would do that at the end of the program itself. Bit of self-reflection, bit of peer assessment. Questioning would become a generalized approach. We do say that we try and re-emphasize the fact that these are what we're focusing on. We're not concerned on how many goals you've scored, but are you confident enough to know when you should be shooting, how you should be shooting? I'm being quite vague, but yeah, the idea is that the general process is a concept as opposed to the skill itself.
Yeah, nice. And what do how the girls finding that? Because I've obviously got 4 years of experience of teaching in Doha myself as well, and not every group, but some of the groups, in terms of engaging young girls in physical activity, was sometimes quite a challenge. Have they responded to confidence being the objective better than skills being the objective per se?
I mean, I would say yes, but I'm going to say yes. But yeah, I think what a caveat to our curriculum time is that there's been a huge push on, I don't want to use the word elite because I don't particularly like that phrase in PE, but our performance program. So being proud to represent the school, being proud to represent Qatar in all the competitions that we enter, both internationally and nationally. There was a massive buy-in with girls here at school in the sense of participation. We very, very rarely would we have a reluctance for girls to participate. So we're already winning in that regard, because there's kind of this family feeling around representing the school and being proud to represent the school, celebration that we have as a whole school. Invite parents in. We create a huge buzz around success at the school, and we believe that potentially will increase participation rates in lesson time. I can't say that's been the overriding reason why we have good participation rates, but we already have that buy-in already, so I haven't had to change our approach to get the buy-in from the students themselves, because generally speaking, they do participate.
And when you speak to like parents and stuff, what are their perspectives when you share your vision for physical education?
I must admit, out here, there isn't a great amount of opportunity to share that vision with them. Not only during kind of options, we look at our learning journey and where we start and where we are in year 9 and what we expect students to be able to do before taking the course as an option. In terms of our website and our perspectives, it's there, but I don't have that direct link with parents where I'm able to see them on a personal basis and discuss it with them.
Yeah. What's the challenge? What have been any challenges of implementing a concept curriculum? What are the biggest challenges you faced?
I think the biggest challenges generally on that aspect, and why people be reluctant to adopt it, is the top end. I mean, it's always the same question, isn't it? In PE, if you've got one of the most able students in the country, let's say, for instance, and which we do have in our girls' football classes, how are you catering to them whilst also catering for someone who does just generically needs to improve their confidence around sport and health? It's a tough one. I don't think there's any. I'm not trying to say that I have all the right answers to it. We try and have three areas that we look at. We have curriculum time, we have ECA time, and then we have performance time. So those students will perform for us on a national and international level. So we try and re-emphasize the fact that PE lessons are to grow confidence and that understanding of health and importance of that. So it's tough, and I don't have the answer to it. I'm sure there are times where the very able can get frustrated. You try and avoid them giving them roles because I'm not a fan of them being a coach. We adopt sport education quite well with our game sports, to give kind of roles again for less able. We think it's better, but often we see that more able are given this role of just coach, or you show you want to do, which is fine in small aspects, but equally we need to stretch and challenge those more able people as well. So yeah. It's tough, but like I say, we have in school that there's curriculum time, ECA time, and then performance time. So we feel we cater to everybody on the wider spectrum.
Yeah, I like that, and I think the students having an explicit awareness of what PE is compared to what performance time is really important, isn't it? I also like that point around not just giving the higher achievers the responsibility of coaching. I think I would see that quite often. From my experience as well. So it's quite nice to reflect on that as well. What are your next thoughts then for PE in the school? Obviously you've embedded you're embedding still and reflecting on the concept curriculum. Is there anything else that you're interested in that you'd like to kind of challenge or impact?
Looking into Key Stage 4, we've completely changed our approach towards the teaching and learning aspect from a theoretical point of view, and we're looking at booklets, and I know that's almost a taboo phrase, but it certainly was for me probably 18 months ago. I remember having a professional dialogue on X about I didn't think they were beneficial. I thought it would almost be lazy teaching. Having done lots of research and looking at how certain schools, certainly there's a couple of schools in London that reach the news, are quite popular, and also not so much, it's quite controversial, but if you look at the high performing schools on adding residual value, all of them adopt an approach kind of around this booklet based teaching. So yeah, I looked into it, researched, spoke to a few people on social media, got some examples. A couple of departments in our school actually do this approach, and myself and the other male teacher who got the current year 10 cohort, we changed it, and genuinely it's been a breath of fresh air for us. Small list of things we were looking at, respiratory system and getting students to cut and stick the lungs in before labelling it. The most basic of tasks takes 15-20 minutes with some teenage boys. So a lot of the learning time is just wasted, and we thought, how can we make it easier for them and us, and how can we focus just on purely the teaching and learning aspect and not having this dead time around admin ultimately. So yeah, we've created some really bespoke and challenging booklets, which has everything in it: extension tasks, stretch and challenge tasks, started plenaries, opportunity for and to work together as a pair. There's times where we sit in silence and read, and I kind of will perhaps come on to it later on. I think sometimes the simplest ideas are always the most effective. Too many gimmicks and lessons for me can get lost in translation. So yeah, that's how we got into it, and we would not look back. It's something that we will definitely pursue moving into year 11.
Yeah, that's a nice thought. I do think sometimes teachers like to throw bells and whistles at things and make it look potentially, maybe something bigger than it actually is, and then the learning goes a little bit awry. Do you think then that the booklet was a worthwhile investment? Because I assume having to design that booklet in the first place wasn't a quick task.
Thankfully, I've got a great colleague who did it for me. So he did all the designing, and we just went through tasks and double checked that we were happy with. There was enough content in there, and it wasn't just us read, you write notes, because again, we do want some creativity, some opportunity for exploration for them. But no, great on, seriously speaking, I can't speak more highly of the change in approach. Not that behaviour is a concern here in terms of classroom management, but that is just it's so perfect now where students are continually on task because they have to be. You move at a pace as a class together, and there isn't opportunity to waste time because you'll then fall behind. And then when you get to an opportunity of an explore task, we call it, there's opportunity for those who are struggling to keep up for you to go around and have that individual dialogue with them and see that AFL is still there from a new perspective. It's been a great investment. We're very happy with it.
Yeah, brilliant. And I guess it's a really good sort of scaffolding resource for those with English as an additional language. I think in terms of, addressing that barrier, that's certainly helpful.
Yeah, and things like attendance for students who it's a clear evidence which lesson they've missed then, and what content they've missed, because the most organised PE teachers or any teachers in the world, sometimes the work gets the better of you, and you might, and the classroom student might come to you and say, "Oh, I missed last Tuesday. What did you cover?" And you're racking your brains yourself. So, but if it's all in front of you, they've got it in front of them. They all come to you and say, "I missed this lesson. Please can I have the notes? Please can we just go through it?" It's such a more simple formula for us anyway.
That's brilliant. I really, it's worthwhile because I do think it's quite a taboo thing, and there will be certain schools that really buy into it and schools that aren't for it at all. So it's nice to see that it's been used positively to influence our subject in the examinations, PE. You mentioned sport education briefly. Are there any other models or anything else that you explore in your PE curriculum, or is it just?
I mean, we certainly at Key Stage 4 recreational PE, we would do a TGFU model and just look at games based curriculum where we perhaps wouldn't have much intervention, only slight in terms of game modification. It works well, very much so with Key Stage 4, who it is just about a games approach, and it is about enjoyment, the physical aspect of it. So that's our approach at Key Stage 4. Sport ed lends itself naturally to games based, to invasion based activities. So with our football, we always adopted it, because otherwise, I think often the more able, the ones who do play football outside the school, just take too much onus on the what it is really, and there's so much layers to a football lesson. So our less able, less confident students could take the role of the media analysis who would do a write-up at the end of the lesson if that's what suits them, or often we use them as the coaches or the captains, the skills coach or the fitness coach or the captain. So we don't adopt it wholeheartedly. We have modified versions of it, but we definitely use it during Key Stage 3 football, especially. Team names, keeping score, league tables. It just creates more elements to it than just today we're doing a passing drill, today we're doing a crossing drill, let's play a game. So so you think that let's hate is somebody.
I spoke to Ash Casey about this, and obviously Professor Gary Kinchen works at my university as well, heavily involved in sport education. And we talked about, as long as there's purpose, then you can kind of, we talked about model fidelity, and are you following it by the word, or do you need to follow it as the text would say, or can you pick the best bits to fit your context? And it's, I think in your context and from my experience, football is massive culturally in Qatar, especially for the teenage boys. It's huge, isn't it? It's, I would say, by far one of the most popular sports in the region. So I'm glad to see that you are putting a spin on it so that there's a purposeful learning intention through football, because it could quite easily get lost and just become them, just moving and developing skills through football, which they'll have so much opportunity to do and will do. So it's nice to see that there's a decision you've made.
That old... It's a lot of if you ask people at adult life who did dislike sport, PE lessons, they would always refer back to kind of the football lessons where they were stuck in goal by the good player, and we just try and get away from that and its enjoyment for all in football. And I think sometimes it like you say, you can't, if you allow it to just get ahead of itself, that's what happens. The better players only play, and the less confident, weaker players detest the sport and hate it, and then don't see the link between football and health. They just see football and health as being a negative, and that's what the opposite of what we're trying to achieve.
Yeah. So then I guess it's signposting those that have that sort of view of football, that there is that performance time where
Exactly.
that's when it's supposed to happen. Great. So kind of on the back of that then, let's go into the sort of quick fire questions. What are your non-negotiables for positive experiences for all in PE?
As a teacher's point, I mean, I'm really high on standards. Really high on standards in terms of how people speak to me, how they speak to each other, how I speak to them. Kit is a big thing for me. I remember back in the UK, I would always believe that whatever I wore as a PE teacher, the students were allowed to wear. So I wouldn't be my hat, gloves, and scarf.
You're saying about
but I would be in my quarter zip and my shorts because that's what we expect them to wear. So small things like that. So standards, I'm extremely high on it across the school, and behaviour, teaching and learning standards have to be tip top. But in a sense of a lesson, non-negotiables is just pace and enjoyment, and I will always refer back to that. So make sure the lessons are snappy, make sure that there's enjoyment within the lesson. How you measure that is up to you, but for me, that's what I always, non-negotiables. We enjoy our lessons, and our lessons have good pace.
Well, this just trying to explore that a little bit further from in your setting. Then, what are some of the things that learners enjoy the most in PE?
Often it is games. I must admit, learners would enjoy that. But I think nice and snappy starters when they come in, we're doing something with a fun element. It might be whatever it might be. It might be a game. It might be related to the sport or not. It might be related to the skill that we're trying to improve in the sport. But just something which is fun and engaging. We have a bit of a laugh at the start of the lesson, and then we're back in the middle. We kind of understand that the importance of a warm up through a fun based game element, and then we move on to what we're looking at in terms of a concept thereafter. So I'd like to think that the start of each PE lesson that they enjoy. I try and minimise the time I'm speaking, because I know that especially teenage boys that they just want to get going and want to play.
Yeah, I love that. I had did a really good CPD day with Vinny Housel from the FA in England with our trainees a couple of weeks back, and he calls them the triple A's. So AAA being the batteries, and he calls them energizers, to energize the start of your lesson, but AAA's being adaptable arrival activities. So things that you set up that are the learners can take leadership and prioritization over, and they're like, right, we're going to set this up so we can be active, we can get energized at the start of our lesson. And it's that sort of like routine and expectations as well. So that was quite a nice sort of way to kind of, what I thought was a really good way to memorize it, is AAA batteries as energized.
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
So this one is almost like a personal, professional and PE one. If you have a mantra, what would your mantra be?
Couple really. One is I don't know if it's PE. I just think teaching as a general. Always put yourself in a position that you're able to adapt change. So often we can't agree with everything that goes on in the school, whole school, department level, classroom level. But if you're not willing to put yourself in a position to be able to adapt and change that and have that professional dialogue, then you can't be negative about what is happening. So I'm always passionate about putting myself in a position where I can either be heard in a professional dialogue sense, or if I can be heard and it's still, we're not going to go down that route, we're going to go down this route. At least I know that I put myself in a position where I can justify a change, an adaptation, whole school, I'll say whole school, department level, or in classroom. I think, always putting yourself in a position to adapt to change it is important to me.
And then you also mentioned one that you kind of briefly touched upon earlier, was the small things are often the most successful things, in terms of like, you use the example of your booklet, and that's quite a nice one as well, I think. Keep things simple. I had the privilege of our old high school back in North Wales was kind of one of the centres where a lot of training teachers from the local university would come to and watch our PE lessons. And then they would deliver sessions themselves, and you would see they're trying to force these
really unique and stylish ideas into a lesson when they're losing learning. And if it's forced, it just becomes a poor start or a poor main body of a lesson. So keep things simple. It's far more effective.
Nice. I like that. Potentially controversial one then. If you could remove something from PE, what would you remove?
I've alluded to it at the start, just the rigidness of having to do this and this at these times of the year, because we have done in the past few years, and it's just the way it's, one example is everyone does cross country, and I detest cross country as a lesson based delivery. Like, for example, that it will come up that there's a competition and you will only choose 3 from each year group or 6 from each year group, but you're making 150 to 200 students do the cross country, and we know that probably 70% of them can't complete the cross country course. It's just every way to turn off a student into sport and PE you could possibly hope for. It's freezing cold, they're running for long distances, and you as a PE teacher are standing there barking orders at the start and the finish. So rigidness, and especially cross country is something I would abolish from PE.
I like it. If you had a golden message for anyone embarking on a career in physical education, so think back to when you started and maybe some of the advice you got from the people you mentioned, or for any of the sort of VCTs or trainees that are listening, what would your sort of golden message be for them?
Take advice on board and don't take it personal. I'm still learning now, as someone who's taught and going into his 12th year next year, that I'm still learning. Booklets, for example. Another one is that no, I know we don't use the word excellent teachers anymore. We use, highly effective, less effective, but no teacher is perfect. It's impossible. And sometimes I've seen students in the past where they get really downbeat that their lesson has been satisfactory or, somewhat effective. That's normal. And I think if someone embarking on a career, you can't deliver highly effective lessons every single lesson. It's impossible. So yeah, they'd be the two that I would say.
I've got one that I kind of haven't prepped you for before we finish with the last one. So I don't want to almost like throw you under the bus here a little bit, but I think you'll be able to answer it really well. So let's just think, Dan Miller, head of PE and sport at the school. Let's think 5-10 years time. If you're still there, or if you're not there, what would your vision for PE be like in your setting? What would you want PE to be doing for young people?
Just creating that legacy, really, that we have the DBS Lions as our kind of our performance team. So I'd like to leave in 10 years' time, there'll be a legacy that everyone is proud and understanding of what impact PE and sport can have on you, no matter what your ability and background. Everyone enjoying the lessons, everybody understanding that physical and mental health is just as vital as your education on a written form, and having very successful teams across an international and national level, and having that constant regurgitation of that coming through. So primary into secondary leaving that legacy with themselves. So another set of crop of primary to continually follow that through, really.
So you're a real sort of, from what I've gathered today, a real true believer that there are two sort of pathways here, that PE and sport are like a marriage, but they can be separated, but they also support each other. And they're different sort of exercise. Yeah. Because you've obviously recently, did you host or organise the BSME games?
So first time in the show of history, we went to it. We went to it. Yeah. Finished third overall, which was an amazing achievement for us. We were invited last minute, so we had 2 weeks practice. And as I say, I don't want to look that performance is more important than participation, because it isn't. They're equal in a school and equal with my mantra. But yeah, we've been super successful nationally and now super successfully internationally. We've been to 4 BSME events and medalled every single one. So it's a great time to be a part of the school, but also a great time and a privilege to showcase the talents that are in not only Doha British School, but in Qatar generally.
Yeah, and create lifelong memories for those that go to those events, even if they don't medal, right?
And there's a lot of, 100%. You commit your week. We've done as a school, we'll have done 3 weekends in a row now. And yes, it is tiring. Yes, it is hard work. But we were those kids one day, and we understand the igniting that flame of memory. And we remember our fixtures back home, or we remember those trips away as the kind of performance squads for your schools. And yeah, it's a wonderful time. It's wonderful to be a PE teacher because you live that moment every single year almost, and remembering when you were that child as well. So whilst it's tough and hard work, it's a very, very rewarding job. And yeah, I'm very thankful that I'm in the position I am.
Yeah, my sporting fixtures weren't quite as luxurious as trips around the Middle East, but yeah, I remember them well. So the final question then, if PE could be one word, or should be one word for young people, what should it be?
Trying to not use the words that we use in education a lot, like impactful, or but I would say powerful. I think we've got the power to. We're very unique as a department in a school, and I'm obviously very biased towards PE, but I feel like we have a very powerful opportunity to, as I say, on all spectrums of ability, have a great, powerful, and I will use the word impact, but very powerful impact on people throughout their whole lives.
Love it. Dan, thank you very much for taking the time to come on and have a chat. I know there's lots going on around you and in the school, so thanks for dedicating the time to come on and have a conversation. Really enjoyed it, and I look forward to sharing your insights with the community.
Very welcome, Nathan. Thanks very much for having me. Come back anytime. It's been great.